Hello everybody, and welcome back to another session of Dave Gets Wood. And a lot to go, well, I'm going to say a lot to go through today. I've got a bit to go through on this particular video clip. Okay, so the main thing we're working on at the moment is this nameplate. It's not a nameplate, it's a number plate, but it's not a number plate for a car. So, and I'm pretty much just about ready to fill in the indentations with black resin. So, because this has been left to dry to dry for 24 hours. So yes, so that's one of the things that I'm going to be trying to get done today. One of the other things that I might try and get done today, but I'm not in a rush to try and do it, would be to fill in my snake. And if you've been watching, you know it's not a snake. It'll become something else. But because I've got to mix it black into the resin, I would need to make a lot of resin to then have enough to also do this. So I'm going to kind of put this to one side for a while until I either have some excess clear or have plenty of or specifically make up a batch of resin for that, which is more than likely what I'm going to be doing. So because obviously that has been sealed already. Now with the number plate that I've mentioned that I'm doing, I'm going to need to use a little bit of that resin to clear resin to seal another project, which I mentioned that I'd been given a few days ago. And I'll kind of try to show you what it is. Now, my oldest brother has moved house, him and his wife and his little boy. So there's a piece of furniture which they've given to my mum. It's a little chair which says Arthur on it. So what I'm going to do is, I'd mentioned, sorry about that, my mum phoned. Yes, I was showing the chair. It's got Arthur's name on it. Now, my mum, she's going to be keeping it indoors, and she was going to paint it. So I was giving her a couple of tips on like make sure you clean it and you don't let the paint run. And then I was like, well, hang on a minute, are you showing me this because you want me to do it for you? She goes, well, you do a better job than I would. So that's where I've ended up with another project on. And if you remember back to the very sort of first series of videos I did about Dave Gets Wood, it was a case of if I start making things actually pretty good, then I'll end up getting bombarded. And I wouldn't say that I'm getting bombarded at the moment, but for example, I've got the nameplate. See, things that are not for me. Got the nameplate, the chair. There's a cabinet in my car. What else have I got? There's this glass box that I've now got, wooden box with glass windows. So that's what, 4 things on the go, and there's other things being lined up. I know there's a big project in the pipeline, and that doesn't include my project of my headset head, my table, my coasters. So yeah, plenty going on. But with the Arthur chair, one of the things that I'm going to need to do with that, I was meant to seal where the letters are when I sealed the rest of the wood, and I completely forgot. So one of the things I'm going to do today, before I mix up the black resin, is seal the lettering in the chair, because then I can fill the lettering in at some point, and that is either going to be with black or blue. It depends which I think goes best with the paint, because the paint is kind of like I think it was called chocolate something, but it's a very light sort of beigey brown rather than like a dark brown. But anyway, right. As for the coasters. As for the coasters, very interesting at the moment. So, here's one. I mean, it's still in its mould. To be fair, it's set very nicely. The wood is higher than the rest of the mould, unfortunately. But that's okay, because what I will do is sand. I will intend on sanding that down until I get to clean wood. Now, these moulds are made so that they should be able to literally just slip straight off and be reused, which at the moment it is looking like that's exactly what it will be able to do. It is, I mean, it's not stuck, and there we go. And oh wow, I've got to say, the bottom of that is absolutely lovely. That's actually very, very nice. That kind of reminds me a little bit of Rey from Star Wars food she had in the first episode she was in. But yeah, but I've got to say, yeah, the finish on that is absolutely lovely. Okay, so with this one then, that needs sanding down. Now with it being that kind of shape, it's going to be very awkward to sort of hold this and sand it. I think more than likely what I'll end up doing is actually holding the sander and applying this to it. So like a bit like I did when I was outside, I mentioned that I got my orbital sander. I mean, I won't use orbital sander on this though. The orbital sander, I think, is one of the problems I had with it marking it up. So I will be trying my little triangular sander on these. So yeah, so I'll go for applying this to the sander rather than the other way around. And hopefully, I mean, it will take some time, but hopefully I'll be able to level that down to then show the nice clean wood. Now, with the other one that I did, this one is still in its mould, and you can tell obviously I've got blue resin all over the place. However, you can also tell that there is gaps left, or a gap left. So this one, now again, the wood is sitting higher than the edge of the mould, which is fine. But what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to top this one up with clear resin. And then do the same as the other one, which will be sand it down to get rid of the blue here, at least as best I can. And then I'll get to see what the blue will look like with a clear on top of it as well. Now, I'm not going to take that one out of its mould, and there's no point because I need it in the mould. But I'm not in any rush to get that one done, or to get that one done. I mean, that one's just about sanding. This one is more about resin, but I don't want to do that until I know I've got the resin to spend on that one, so to speak. So these are going to get put to the side a little bit. However, excuse me, I do have one more disc left that I've already got, and I do have other moulds. So from the resin work that I'm going to do today, if I have an excess left over, I can either use the disc there to create another one, or, I mean, if I've got the black, I can still try on the wood, or I can just try using the resin on its own. I mean, to be fair, I could probably do the resin on its own and it'd work absolutely fine. But while I've got the wood, I wouldn't mind trying a few different things. So anyway, I'm going to put those to one side. So my objective then for today, as I mentioned, is to get Arthur sealed and then get the number 2 filled in. That is basically the extent of my objectives so far for today. Now, I no idea how this is going to cope with being poured, because that's what I am going to do with this. I'm not going to go down the route of like syringing it like I did in the first one. I'm literally going to mix up the resin, put the colour in it and pour it into these gaps, into these indentations until it fills it. And to a degree I would rather have it overflow than not fill it enough, because at least if it overflows I can sand it back to a smooth finish, hopefully, and hopefully as well have learned how to get it to polish up properly, because that's obviously one of the things that I've been lacking with so far. But we'll see how this is going to go. I mean, to be fair as well, this is still the test piece, but if this ends up looking really, really good, it won't be the test piece, it will be the active piece. And once this has been filled with the black, just thinking actually, what I might be better off doing is once this has been filled with the black and the black has dried, then prepping this for a clear pour, because then it'd be easier to just sand it all down once, the clear and any excess of the black resin, sand all that down once. But they're saying that if I did do that, I would have to sand down all of the clear resin, so there's no point. I would need to sand down the black first and then do, because I want the clear resin completely on top of a smooth finish. Okay, yes, I will have to do it that way. Right, I've waffled a bit, so I need to go and put these video clips onto the computer, and I shall be back shortly.